Hello, beautiful souls. I'm going to take you on a journey with me back to the year 1997, where there was a 7-year-old girl who felt scared and alone. She witnessed her brother get shot. She can hear the screams of the women and children around her. She watches the door being battered and shattered down. She watches her mum wash her brother's denim wounded shirt. And it's in that moment that she learnt that blood was crimson red. She didn't know if she should tell her friends that her brother got shot when she went back to school. So she chose to stay silent. She held that fear and that trauma inside of her. That 7-year-old girl was me. That trauma and that incident triggered a lifetime of hypervigilance for me. I constantly kept looking over my shoulders to see that I was safe. A cloud of darkness grew on top of me. That cloud grew as I went to university. That cloud grew as I got married. That cloud grew as I had my first child. I was stuck and I was lost. I lost my identity and I lost my authentic self. I became a people pleaser because I feared rejection, and ultimately, I was waiting for someone to come and rescue me. Depression grew inside of me, but I was too scared to ask for help. Then depression took over every cell in my body, and that cloud sat on my shoulders like a ton of bricks, and I couldn't breathe. Felt like I was being sucked into a bottomless dark hole. Because of the suicidal thoughts, I didn't know if I should take the knife or the pills or if I should jump off that bridge. There was a bridge near my house, and I often used to drive under that bridge with my kids. And I used to ask myself the same question again and again and again. What would it be like if I jumped?
And there was this one night, and I'll never forget that night. We were stuck in traffic, and the rain was hitting the windscreen so hard that the wipers were swishing from left to right so violently that it was shaking the car. And then I heard a tap tap. The window went down. The woman at the window said there was an incident of a woman from the bridge. Everything she said after that was silent. All I could hear was the rain. That night, my dark, heavy cloud rained down on me. It was in that moment I learned that is what happens when you jump. I knew I was broken, and I knew I needed help. And it was at that moment where I ended up at a self-help session. It was at the end of that session where the guy put out some powerful question cards face down. And he said, pick a card. Whichever card you pick is the card that is destined for you.
In my hand is that card. It reads, who am I when I'm alone? I didn't know the answer to that question. My trauma had made me wear a mask my whole life that I didn't know who I was. But I was determined to find the answer, and I wanted to break through that darkness. Rumi says, the wound is the place where the light enters. I was absolutely determined to embrace my wounds and let the light enter me. So I decided to lean into my extensive experience of working with children, use my knowledge of childhood development and my psychology background to research into how and why childhood traumas affects adult life. Psychologists categorize traumas into two different categories: big T traumas and little t traumas. Big T traumas are experiences of abuse, assault, war, natural disasters, to name a few. Little t traumas are examples of abrupt relocation, lack of parental affection or attention, divorce, sibling rivalry, financial worries, etc. Now, I'm not the kind of person that would want to limit people's individual experiences into just two categories. And that's why I love the quote by Gabor Mate. He says, trauma is not what happened to you, not what happened to you. Trauma is what happens inside of you as a result of what happened to you. So to put that into perspective, on the one hand, the trauma that I experienced of my brother getting shot deeply traumatized my whole life. My sister, on the other hand, wasn't affected. She was more traumatized by the sheep that was sacrificed in front of us. She is now a vegetarian. So every individual trauma is a trauma. As I continued researching, I came across something called generational trauma. This scared me. It scared me that I was passing on my trauma and my wounds to my children. It became a responsibility for me to acknowledge my traumas, to address my wounds, and to illuminate my darkness, so I could parent my children in the way that they individually need as human beings. It became a duty for me to reparent my inner child. Now, reparenting simply means to connect back to the inner child. The inner child is the little you that still exists within each and every one of us today. They sit in the subconscious or the unconscious mind. And reparenting is being the parent that you needed in that challenging time. It could simply mean to give yourself a hug, or to say it wasn't your fault, or simply to say you are loved. And that's exactly what I did. I began reparenting my inner child, giving myself what I needed when that trauma sat in my body. I began releasing limiting beliefs and thoughts about myself that were acting as a hindrance to me from growing, from winning, and from succeeding. I now know the inner child holds the key to understanding who I am. As I continued delving deeper into myself, I came across the Enneagram. The Enneagram is a phenomenally powerful self-development tool. It seeks to reveal blind spots in ourselves that life, challenges, societal norms have made us put into our shadows. Now, the Enneagram has 9 core types, but it doesn't want to just stick a label on your forehead. It encourages us to grow and to integrate, to adopt the best of all 9 types within us. And the reason why it helped me so much is because it helped me to understand why my body held on to the trauma that it held on to, and why, as an adult, I continue to hold on to those traumas that I had as a child. It connected the dots. I now know that the Enneagram is going to continue to be with me as I delve deeper into myself. Now, beautiful souls, I want you all to listen up, because I'm going to give you 3 juicy takeaways. Number 1, the inner child holds the key to answering that question, who am I when I am alone? Do what works for you. Sit with yourself in silence. Try what I did. Use the Enneagram. Draw with your non-dominant hand. Look back at old pictures. Play hopscotch. Play hula hoops. Pop some bubbles. Just have fun. Number 2, responsibility. It is absolutely your individual responsibility to reparent your inner child. Whether you're a parent or not, whether you're a doctor, a firefighter, or you work in corporate, whether you're a butcher, a baker, or a candlestick maker, it's your responsibility to reparent your inner child, to acknowledge your traumas, to address your wounds, and to illuminate your darkness. Give yourself what you needed. It's not a blame game on your parents. I love my family. My mum has heaven under her feet. Give yourself what you need in this time. Number 3, duty. It's your duty to reparent your inner child. It's your duty to become trauma-informed about yourself and to go on that journey of understanding what happened to you. And until you do, you psychologically remain a child stuck in an adult body. It's your duty to reparent yourself so you can parent the next generation in the way that they individually need as human beings. So if, and only if, you're ready to reparent your child, then I'd like to invite you to open those black and white packages that you were given on registration. In those packages, you will find a little tube of bubbles. Those bubbles are there to instigate fun. Go and have some fun, because your inner child is not going to want to come out if you're being a boring old fart. And the second thing you will find in there is your very own powerful question card. Now remember, the card you have is the card that is destined for you. And the answer to that question, I am Sabika Rezavi. I am reparenting myself, and together we will reparent the nation.